On May 13, 2022, a large corporation's owner named Miles sends his 5 friends a special puzzle box, which they receive, solve, and then open. They received a card with an invitation to Greece inside that was sent by Miles, who had called them. When you all arrive, I'll play a game called Murder Mystery with you, as Miles has written. After that, a picture of an elderly man is displayed who was a shrewd detective and also acquired the puzzle box and the card from miles away. The next scene shows his friends arriving in Greece after being forced to attend a party at all costs. A former employee of the company named Andy was among them when Miles called them to the location. They were all surprised to see her because Miles fired her after an argument years prior. Miles's friend, a fashion designer, had brought her companion with her. His YouTuber friend had brought his friend. To transport them to the lovely island of Miles named Glass Onion, Miles sent them a lovely ship. When they arrive on the island, Miles greets them and gives them a tour. Upon seeing everything, they retire to their rooms to rest. Later, Miles brings the detective to his room and queries why the man is there, given that neither he nor she had been invited, nor had they received a call from either. If you didn't call me here, you sent me this in that puzzle box, so perhaps one of your friends has fixed the puzzle box and sent it to me, the detective says as he hands the man the card. Perhaps they did it for fun. And Miles thinks it's great how great it will be to have a famous detective like you participate in my murder mystery game. Now that they are having fun, they go to the pool. A YouTuber friend of Miles claims that last week, when I was driving somewhere, Miles was also traveling by car, but he was driving quickly and couldn't see me, almost running me over. After that, the detective asks Miles how he and his friends became so successful, to which Miles replies that there is wisdom in it, and that whatever the thing is, start with a small step. That will enlarge with each step as time goes on, and by putting this into action, we are now successful. Miles answered it incorrectly because today they are successful because of Miles, says Andy, the old employee of the company whom Miles terminated. She says that he assisted them in performing the wrong tasks, and then she departs. Now, the fashion designer friend of Miles calls Miles and complains that you asked my friend to give a false statement, but I don't want her to do any wrong task, because all the media and channels are already against her, Miles responds. The detective could hear them from a distance and had instructed her to do as I had asked. As the YouTuber continues to explore the island, his friend, Miles' friend, whom he will soon marry, appears. He becomes sad and stays silent, indicating that there is something between them and that the girl is deceiving him. The detective was also observing all of this. Miles set up a party for them that evening, telling them while displaying the authentic Mona Lisa that he had brought it from a museum, and then gave the detective a small piece of chemical. It resembled crystal but had many powers. It had fuel and energy, which allowed it to produce both fire and electricity. Giving him Miles, who claims to have many chemical crystals similar to this, he informs him that there is risk associated with its use and that he will contact well-known world leaders to inform them of the substance. I'll tell them that my company discovered it using salted water, and that as the chemical gains notoriety and more people want it, my business will also profit. Its ability to generate electricity and the ability for electric devices to work with it are both huge advantages. His company's scientist, Miles' friend, interrupts him and informs him that the investigation is still ongoing and needs more time. If you use it, it will be dangerous there. Miles advises you to be patient because nothing will happen because this island is working on it. At the dinner table, while everyone was seated, Miles announced that they must all participate in a game called Murder Mystery, which he had previously explained to them, in which he would be falsely assassinated by one of them. You have to track down the murderer, but the detective lets you know right away that it will be a fashion designer. Miles doesn't like this, so he calls the detective on his own and asks why they said this, saying that it ruined the game before it even began. The detective responds, I just said this otherwise. Each human who comes here has a reason to end you, and maybe your life will be in danger and fun. But Miles asks, being surprised, they are all my friends, my companions, and work for my company, so why they will end me. Then, despite the fact that your friend is a fashion designer and doesn't want it and neither does her friend, you still force her to lie to the media. The YouTuber finds out that his friend is misleading him with you and that there is something going on between you two. If we say that your former friend Andy is now your adversary, it means that for some reason, your friends are also your adversaries. Miles reveals to the detective a photograph of his friends, along with a handkerchief and a sketch made with a pen underneath. After seeing the sketch, Miles claims to have had the idea to launch his business in a bar. Its name is Glass Onion, so I based the name of my island on it and spelled out my plans on a handkerchief. The same one, which I carefully guarded until today, shows Andy arguing with a YouTuber on the other side before walking away. After that, Miles and the detective show up, but YouTuber's phone starts ringing as he was receiving messages from Google. He is surprised to see them but then starts laughing while showing Miles those notifications. After hugging the YouTuber and requesting that he keep his mouth shut after becoming shocked to see notifications, Miles then announces that he is giving the YouTuber a senior position in his company. The YouTuber is delighted to learn that he can make a respectable income. We will find out later what those notifications meant that Miles changed his mind and offered the YouTuber a senior position, why he became alarmed, and what he was requesting the YouTuber to conceal. Miles offered the YouTuber some juice because he was feeling good, but after a while, he started having breathing problems and passed away immediately. They all get scared because of his sudden death and they suspect Andy. As she left the party before Miles arrived, he noticed the YouTuber's name written on the gloss. This meant that the murderer intended to kill me, but he passed away. Strangely, the YouTuber's gun and phone went missing from that location as well, and when the island's lights went out, everyone panicked and began to flee. In the meantime, the detective emerges, encounters Andy, and informs her of the death of the YouTuber. His unexpected passing causes her to become alarmed and surprised, but someone then shoots Andy and kills her. When Andy's twin sister visited the detective's home to speak with him, the scene changes to the past. Here, we learn the startling information that Andy passed away a week ago and is rumored to have committed suicide. The detective is informed by Andy's twin sister that she has read her diary and discovered that she is happy and has no reason to commit suicide because everything is fine. I think her friends are to blame for this. All of her friends are going to Miles, so keep this puzzle box and figure out who killed Andy because of it. Later, she reveals that Andy, not Miles, was the one who had the idea to found the company. She had written it down on a handkerchief. However, after 2 years, a fight broke out between the two due to the chemical. Because she didn't want that chemical to be used, Miles lied in court with the assistance of his friends. But Andy only had that handkerchief to back her up, which, sadly, vanished somewhere during this case. After that, Miles created that fake handkerchief in the style of Andy, and my sister lost this case solely as a result. One day, Andy discovered the actual handkerchief and drew a picture of it while enclosing it in an envelope. To demonstrate that it was Andy's idea, she showed it to all of her friends other than Miles, but the following day, Andy passed away, and the genuine handkerchief also vanished. The detective informs Andy's sister that he will track down her killer, but that you will also accompany me to Miles Island in the role of Andy because he knows that one of Andy's friends is responsible for her murder. She arrived on the island with the detective under the alias Andy so that you could spy on everyone and provide me with information. While spying, she overhears a conversation between a politician and a scientist in which the politician declares, "I would never parse this chemicals project." The scientist claims that when the chemical is used, it emits a poisonous gas that is dangerous for humans. "I didn't want to do this project, but Miles insisted that I do it because if I didn't, he would bring someone else to my house and ruin me." While spying on the fashion designer, Andy's sister learns that Miles was really about to give her money to make her say that Miles and not Andy had the idea to start this company. She learns that the YouTuber asked his friend to intentionally form a relationship between her friend and Miles so that he could obtain a senior position in Miles' company through his friend. That implies that everyone was backing Miles because it would benefit them personally. When the politician and the YouTuber arrived, the politician who was thinking about horror, Andy, said, "Listen, Andy, why are you mad at us? Me and the scientist came to your house when you sent the picture of an envelope." Andy's sister was on her way to the detective to tell Miles the truth, but she was interrupted by the politician and the YouTuber. "Even when the fashion designer arrived at your house after we left and knocked on the door, no one answered." The YouTuber had already arrived and was attempting to enter. After that, Andy's sister reveals to the detective everything that happened. She claims that when Andy mailed them to establish her credibility, her friends came to meet her, but no one opened the door, and upon learning of this, the detective suspect separated herself from her friends. After the argument, when Andy's sister left the party, she looked through everyone's rooms but couldn't find the envelope containing the actual handkerchief. This was the past tale, but in the present, we see that someone shot Andy's sister to death. Fortunately, Andy's sister survived because she always has Andy's diary with the bullets still lodged in it. She pretended to be dead because the detective asked her to do so and wanted them to believe she had passed away. Seeing an opportunity, Andy's sister enters Miles' room and, upon checking the picture, discovers the envelope that, when opened, shows that Miles has broken up with Andy. The detective informs Miles that he has discovered that you mixed pineapple juice into the beverage of the deceased YouTuber despite knowing that he had an allergy to the fruit. The detective says that when Andy emailed you about the idea with the copy, the scientist sent that mail to the scientist. Because of it, Miles became enraged that he went to Andy's house. At this point, Andy's sister arrives and she is holding the real handkerchief. When we were close to the pool, he told us that Miles had killed her upon arriving there and had then immediately fled after stealing the handkerchief. He had been driving quickly at the time, and the YouTuber was about to crash into him as well. When the YouTuber started receiving Google notifications, he learned that Andy had passed away and suspected Miles because he had seen him leave Andy's home. Following that, he began threatening Miles, threatening to tell everyone he had broken up with Andy unless he gave me a senior position in the company. A real handkerchief with the Glass Onion bar logo underneath is displayed to Miles by Andy's sister. "I'm Hortwin's sister, and the bar you're referring to closed 9 years ago," she says. "So it was that bar's handkerchief. Didn't you find it amazing to see me that how I look same like Andy?" she asks. "Your handkerchief was made a few years ago, and it lacks the Glass Onion bar logo. As a result, it is fake, and Miles burns your handkerchief while claiming that you have learned everything there is to know about me. Unfortunately, you have no proof that I did anything wrong or that I killed Andy, so I'm not guilty of either of these crimes." Even though they are now all aware of